Hey, what's up? My name is Bradford William Davis. I'm a writer, reporter, podcast host, and I am from Queens, New York City, the best borough. And why did I fall in love with sports? How did I fall in love with sports? Not from playing it well, because I will always be picked last on any, sandlot or or blacktop. But it came from a summer of going to Yankees games with my pops. And I think one day, I remember vividly the first sports game I watched from beginning to end. And I enjoyed watching say Jordan or whatever, and stuff, but not passionate. But I was passionate during this game. It was a Subway Series, Yankees versus Mets. Not the World Series that year, but the summer. And Doc Gooden was pitching for the Yankees, which was a big deal because that was the first time he was in Shea Stadium pitching for the Yankees against the Mets. Now this wasn't Dr. K, this was washed up, completely tore up, off the waiver wire pickup. You know what I mean? He was not Doc. But he still won the game, and he was just crafty. He was competing and battling in a way that just showed off his smarts in a way that I kind of vibe with. And I didn't know I could vibe with a sport like that, of the mental game of competing, of giving your absolute all when you got nothing, and still picking up the dub. That was really special to me, and that made me start to really like baseball. And soon, football and basketball followed as well. Some boxing, but yeah, it was that moment watching, middle-aged, bum, useless except for this one summer series, Doc Gooden doing his thing and getting that dub, and seeing a little bit of how the mental game is a wonderful part of sports. It feels trite to just go over how do you feel about John Gruden? He sucks. He unsurprisingly really sucks. But I think what can be learned from this is what's worth discussing. First of all, that he was so cavalier as to put all of this on wax for quite a long time that a lot of people knew. And he knew that he wasn't gonna get in trouble for it. Think about that. He could be using gay slurs and obviously racist insults that I think he said about the lips, man, that hurt my feelings. To be honest, I was dang, that's too good an insult for you to be using. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, this stuff is whack, but what's wacker to me is that there was a whole village that protected him for a very long time. And so I think that really needs to be understood when we hear the NFL is looking into this matter, and comments like that this has to be pervasive if there was that much on email that no one dealt with for an extremely long time. It makes me wonder, from everything from his coaching tree to other people he may have interfaced with throughout the league as well. Again, the Washington football team were just a total train wreck, so of course they were getting probed, right? But what about the more competent organizations, What about, when he was, discussing trade scenarios of the Patriots or something like that? What was going on there, People need to be asking that kind of thing. How common is John Gruden? And the answer is very common, but we need to find out exactly how common. I don't think that we will. Because it would undo the NFL from its foundation as an organization that depends on a lot of black people absorbing contact and also absorbing all that comes with being part of the league. And if you to start pulling from that house of cards would, I think, unravel the whole system, which is why I think they're going to do the best they can, and by they I mean the NFL, as well as much of the media, which I'll get to in a second, I think that they're going to do the best they can to show it as a bad apple that did not spoil the whole bunch. Yeah, we gotta discuss that subject of what has come of this sort of social awakening, with maybe perhaps the biggest air quotes ever in sports, on a couple of levels. On one level is the athletes, right? Who I think many are quite sincere, you know? They see the same videos we do. Many of them, you know, see themselves in George Floyd or Brianna Taylor or whatnot. And, or if they don't see themselves, they see their family, they see their, you know, they see the communities they came out of in some regards. And they have stories of their own and they want to see change happen. And I am very grateful that they feel more empowered to do so. That we have finally reached a point in American society where, at least within the realm of sports, maybe if you're like a public school educator in the South, like it's a different story in the Midwest or whatever, but like, or you know, whatever white suburb, you can't say racism is bad. But at least in sports, you can say that now. So hey, that is progress. I'm not even joking. That's progress, and that a lot of that came from these athletes, and you know, Kaepernick really being like the first among this modern class. But you know, but I really believe that they want to see a different and better world for themselves, for their families, for the communities, and I applaud that. However, my caution is with the degree with which these athletes partner with the institutions that employ them to activate that change. I think that is where the danger is. Because these dudes, I think they see racism as a liability, not as a cause. And a liability and a marketing tool. Because again, society has reached this point where enough consumers want to feel like they're down for the cause through what they consume, rather than, you know, actual sacrifice. But yeah, so they need to understand. I think these athletes need to understand. I think many of them do, but I think some of them might be a little too optimistic that these institutions are willing to go as far as needed to be, as they need to be pushed to make a difference, you know, to actually do the things that will stop the George Floyds and Brianna Taylors from getting killed. I see a lot of the energy towards, again, like ending police violence, let's say, which is what, you know, the main cause, right? The main problem at the first part of this, you know, conversation, towards things like, say, you know, supporting black-owned businesses or diversifying the game. That's a big Major League Baseball thing, you know? Diversifying the coaching ranks, which is all sports. But those things are good and laudable goals. But they serve the institution. And second, that has nothing to do with why George or Brianna or any of them got killed. What it is policing in this country, which, you know, needs to be radically rethought, if not curtailed, if not ended, you know, but please don't cancel me. Republican senator that's, you know, watching this video. But yeah, like, but how are you gonna have that conversation when you, with a institution that depends so much on not just your athletic skill, but the dollars of everybody, including much of the country that actually really does like things as they are, but with just like a few less viral videos. Because I do believe that's a large swath of the nation. You know, people who like sincerely want, like, they would rather not see people die, but they just don't want the videos in no more. They want everything else as it is, but just not, you know, just not a few, you know, hard to watch tweets. And if you really want to make that change, I think you have to strongly consider, again, what are the motives of these institutions, and are they opponents or are they partners on this, on the crux of the issue, and also decide what the issue is. Again, did we flood the streets to improve coaching ranks in this country? Do we flood the streets to make sure that African American participation in baseball was back to where it was in the 70s? Or do we flood the streets to stop seeing people getting abused and killed? And I think if you start to isolate it down to those problems, you start to see who your allies are, who your accomplices are, and who your nemesis are. It's probably not a feel-good World Series this year for a whole lot of baseball fans, Major League Baseball fans, if you don't care for, say the Houston Astros because of all that sign stealing they were doing back in 17, 18, and maybe beyond that, but at least verifiable, 2017, 2018. And if you feel a type of way about, 30,000 people making a racist chant every time something good happens on the field, in complete defiance to the ways that society is becoming more empathetic and understanding of the indigenous and Native American community, you might have a problem with the Braves as well. But that being said, the baseball is actually pretty fun. These are two really good teams. The Braves are, I think, a little underrated because they had a lot of injury and underperformance issues, and they were missing Ronald Acuna in the second half and everything. But they made smart trades. They got Eddie Rosario. They got Jock Peterson. Him, the bad B word with pearls. They have a really fun team and some very good starting pitching. The Astros, meanwhile, if you can put aside the cheating for just a moment, you can see these dudes can ball. They are very, very good and skilled at the job, and they're a lot of fun, especially when they're embracing the heel life. Like my man Carlos Correa, not my man, I don't know him, but I do unabashedly love watching Carlos Correa play because he is he's just bad enough where it's it doesn't poison my enjoyment of the game. If he's just gonna be rude about cheating, whatever, and then that's fine. Because he seems like a cool dude who embraces younger folks in the team. He leads by example, and whenever and even though he brags a lot, he backs it up every single time. All that, pointing to his invisible rollie as he's walking down the field. When he walked off the Yankees in 2019, he was, pointing to the crowd. But again, he keeps doing it. He's if Derek Jeter showed his personality at any point in his 20-year career, that's Carlos Correa. That, and that's really, really fun. And I think that there's a lot of fun narratives and storylines when you watch the quality of play and the personalities that you're gonna see on the field this year. So as far as who's gonna win, I think I got the Braves in 7, because they do have better starting pitching than a lot of people realize. Charlie Morton is money. I think for that reason, they're going to pull it out. I think Freddie Freeman finding a swing again at the plate. He was hitting some bombs later, late in that series against the Dodgers, and just doing his thing. So I think for that reason they're going to pull it out, but it's going to be close. It's going to be tense because the Astros really are a good team, and they've been here before. The Braves have been here, but but not to the level the Astros have because they've actually popped champagne. So for that reason, I think that I got the Braves in 7. But it's going to be close. It's going to be a lot of fun.